service this evening. I just want to talk for a couple minutes. The service tonight is probably the greatest treasury of Scripture and theology put together as one service that there is in the Orthodox Church. As we were reading through the first 5 Gospels and seeing the hymns in between them, I was thinking I could give dozens of sermons, a sermon on each hymn, and probably a dozen sermons on the first Gospel reading alone. For those who struggle to understand what Christianity is all about, if you just study the service tonight, read the Scripture readings, read the hymns, go through the hymns and look at the Scripture references that are in the hymns, you'll understand everything you need to know about the Christian faith. There was a hymn earlier that said, Jesus addresses it to his people. He says, my people, what have I done for you? And what did I do to deserve what you gave to me? Instead of manna, gall. Instead of water, vinegar. These are references to the Old Testament. When the people of Israel were wandering in the desert and they had no food, God rained down manna from heaven and gave it to them and provided for their sustenance. When they were thirsty, Moses tapped his staff on the rock and water came out of the rock. And here when Jesus was in need, the people, they had no food for him that was fit for a human being. They had no water for him that was fit for a human being. And then you start thinking about all the things that God gave us. He gave us the air that we breathe. He gave us another day to be alive. And what do we do in exchange for what he gave to us? We've all had days in the last year where we feel like we wasted the day. Instead of this is the day that you gave me, I'll rejoice and be glad in it. I took the day and I was miserable in it. I took the day and I made other people miserable in it. Everything that's good and perfect comes from God, and we're supposed to do something with it. We're supposed to do something good and positive with it. Now, I was thinking this afternoon, I had one of those days, and you've all had them. We've all had them when you're like, what am I going to do at my job today? What am I going to say when I get in front of the people I need to talk to? And I was praying for a thought to come to my head. And I had a thought that I don't often have related to the Passion of Christ, and it relates to the words that Christ said from the cross, which we'll hear shortly in the gospel lessons. Jesus said 7 things from the cross, and these things, they're very specific, and they're very meaningful, and they guide us. If we have these things in our minds, they will guide us to not only a better understanding of Christianity, but they'll guide us to a better understanding of how to live a Christian life. And I want to just say them briefly, and then we're going to hear them as the gospel readings. The first thing that Jesus says, he says, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Without forgiveness, we're sunk. No marriage is going to survive without forgiveness. No friendship is going to survive without forgiveness. No meaningful relationship at work in any other way is going to survive without forgiveness. We have to forgive one another. I don't know anybody in here who's killed somebody else, but when they were killing Jesus, he said, I forgive you for that. There can't be a worse thing to do to someone than killing them. And Jesus said, I forgive you for that. If Jesus can forgive us for that, why we can't forgive one another for much less than that? The next thing he did was he worried about the salvation of somebody else. A thief was hanging next to him and he said, remember me in your kingdom. And Jesus didn't say, can't you see I'm busy here? Can't you see that I have my own concerns here? He paused, even in his pain and suffering, because there was an opportunity to bring salvation to somebody else. And he paused and he made sure that that thief, who had lived a terrible life, because in order to get on a cross and be crucified, you must have lived a terrible life. And he said, even this man deserves a chance at salvation. So sometime in the next year, before we gather for this service again, I know that we're all busy. But sometime in the next year, make it a goal to talk to somebody about their salvation. Christ found the time, even in his most harrowing hour, to make sure that he looked after somebody else's salvation. He took care of his mother by entrusting her to the care of his disciple. He said to her, "Behold your son." And he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." He established good relationships. He took care of people. We have to take care of people. Take care of our families, take care of our children, take care of our friends. If there's somebody you haven't seen at church in a while, call them and take care of them. That's everybody's job. Jesus was a human being, and he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And that's not because he lost faith in God. You can be sad. You can feel like you're backed into a corner. You can be disappointed, and you can cry out, "God, I feel like I'm getting the short end of the stick." You can come and kneel before the cross and say, "God, I've knelt before this cross for many years, carrying the same cross in my life, and it's still there. Comfort me. Be with me. Even when it feels like hope is lost, be with me." That's what that cry means. The cry of creation that said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That wasn't Christ's cry. It was his cry on behalf of creation, to tell the creation God is still there. God hasn't abandoned you. And then in his humanity, he said, "I thirst." That was to show us that he was a human being. He was not just perfect God, he was a whole man. And in our life, we don't have to be perfect. We are human beings. We are going to thirst for friendship. We're going to thirst for comfort. We're going to thirst for success. We're going to thirst for lots of things. But we keep our eye on the prize. Christ said, "I thirst," but he didn't say stop all this. He had a human call in the midst of a divine plan. So let us have human call in the midst of God's divine plan. And when someone makes that call, "I thirst," I need help, I need encouragement, we need to be running to them to fill their mouth not with vinegar, but with love, and with empathy, and with compassion, and with help. And the last thing that Jesus said on the cross was the last thing we should aspire to say in our lives. "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Many of us will go to bed tonight with the thought, "Father, give me one more day to make it right. Don't take me tonight. I am not ready." The ultimate saying of faith is, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. I forsake everything, and I'm ready to come to you." Christ made his desire for us very plain in the first gospel, that they may be one as we are one, the Trinity. When you build a union with somebody, you are doing something that's pleasing God. If you want to understand Christ and salvation, build bonds with people. Take care of people. Remember these words of Christ: forgiveness, concern for the faith of others, building relationships, holding fast to God when everything is going wrong, not being afraid to be a human and to help others, and the faith to commit our spirits to God, which is only possible when we commit our life to God, which is only possible when we commit today to God. Our life is big. The next day of our life is today, and tomorrow, and the next day. The next hour of our service will provide us still more lessons about faith. We'll hear all these words in the gospel readings. In between the gospels, you're welcome to come and venerate the cross. You're welcome, of course, to stay the rest of the service, but for those who are not going to stay, thank you that you came. to honor Christ. We'll have 3 services here tomorrow, the great hours at 9 o'clock, the descent of the cross at 3 o'clock, and the lamentations at 7 o'clock. Following this service, we'll begin an all-night vigil. It's not too late if you want to spend part of your evening standing at the foot of Christ's cross, reading, or just sitting in the pews and praying. Sign up on the board or just come. Anytime between now and tomorrow, we have people that have changed their schedule because they don't want any of the hours to be free, so that Christ will not be alone, that 1 or 2 or 3 of us will be here with him all night. He stands with us at all times. This is a beautiful day to stand with him. Thank you for coming and being here tonight.